I'm not teaching, I am publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test part 172, 2010 onwards and Brexit. That is on the page 60. While doing morning stretching, if you participate in morning stretching, that is at your own risk. And we will also talk about the Afghanistan war, or the conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. So the third we're starting with was the last chapter, but we wanted to go through it again because what is written here is outdated and we want to look a bit better at what is written here. So throughout the 90s, Britain played a leading role in coalition forces involved in the liberation of Kuwait, following the Iraq invasion in 1990 and the conflict in the former Republic of Yugoslavia. Since 2000, British armed forces were engaged, yes, they are still engaged in the global fight against international terrorism and against the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, including operations in Afghanistan and Iraq. So British troops were and are still fighting the global war on terrorism, so that not groups in the world are there who are constructing terrorist attack in other parts of the world. And also does the British government try that not such groups or governments who would use ABC weapons obtain them. So atomic, biological or chemical weapons, but not governments who would use them get them. And the UK has operated in Afghanistan, and it was as part of a United Nations mandate 50 Nations International Security Assistance Force Coalition. So the UK was part, and a part also, of the UN, so of many different countries who came together, who went to Afghanistan and tried to build up an Afghan government. And these 50 Nations International Security Assistance Force mandate was working in Afghanistan to try that not again Afghanistan can be used as a safe haven for terrorist groups, so that not terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda could live there, so that we could live there and plan terrorist attack, and that we could train there and then carry out terrorist attack somewhere else in the world, and then just go to Afghanistan and they are not persecuted. Because the United Kingdom cannot just persecute people in Afghanistan. So they were there to establish an Afghan government which then would do the job, so that Afghanistan would be ruled by an Afghan government who would look that not in that country were a terrorist group working, living and training to carry out terrorist attacks. And the United Kingdom tried to do that through the 2000s. And when it was gradually handed over, the responsibility to keep Afghanistan in the hands of the Afghan government and not that a terrorist group like Al-Qaeda could live. And that was gradually handed over until 2022, I think. And then in 2022, the British troops all left, and also the American troops, the Germans, and all the other 15 nations, and were giving it over to the Afghan government. But the Afghan government was not built up enough, and it was directly taken over by the Taliban instead of the Afghan government. And today, this is outdated, not the Afghan government is ruling in Afghanistan, but the Taliban. 2010 onwards and Brexit. In May 2010, and for the first time in the UK since February 1974, no political party won an overall majority in the general election. So normally, since 1974, there was always one of the parties, the Labour or the Conservative, winning the most votes. More than 50%, I guess. Yes, overall majority, I think that means over 50%. And now in 2010, when it was voted, and all the people, or the ones over 18 and so on, who could vote, had the possibility to vote, and the people who voted did not vote an overall majority to either the Conservative or the Labour or other parties which are there. The Conservative and Liberal Democrat parties formed a coalition, and the leader of the Conservative Party, David Cameron, became Prime Minister. So, and because no one had over 50%, they still need to get somehow 50%. And now we came together, the people of the Conservative Party, they had, let's say they had 35%, and the people of Liberal Democrats, another political party, they had, let's say, 16%, and they both came together, and now we had 51%, and they had more than the Labour Party with 49%. I don't know, it's just this, like, so two parties came together, so these two parties then now together have an overall majority more than 50%, or at least more than any other group before. So it's just who has the most votes, it's democracy. So two came together. And these were the Conservative and the Liberal Democrats, and they still needed to have one Prime Minister, and they went for the Conservative Prime Minister. It was David Cameron. And David Cameron became Prime Minister as leader of a coalition of the Conservative Party, which he was probably the leader of. Yes, he was the leader of the Conservative Party, and the Liberal. So David Cameron became Prime Minister in 2010. Now we're doing the full morning stretching. If you don't have time, you're coming back. And if you participate in the morning stretching, it's sitting on the screen. We're starting the forward shoulder circuits. Back, up, in front, and down. Back, in front, and down. And one last time. Back, in front, and down. And now backward shoulder circuits. In front, up, back, and down. And down, and the last time. And now we're breathing in and lifting the shoulders up. If we're breathing out, letting them fall down. We're breathing in and lifting the shoulders up. If we're breathing out, letting them fall down. And again, breathe in and lift the shoulders up. And out. Let them fall down. And breathe in again, lift the shoulders up. And out. And again, in and lift the shoulders up. And out. And now the apple plucker. We're breathing in and lifting the arms up. And we're reaching high, we're pretending to take an apple hanging high on an apple branch, to take it, to turn it around, and to pluck it. And a few more. And the last two. And now directly to the next exercise, the shifter. Hands to the other side, we're breathing in. And out, and shifting over to one side, just with the upper part of the body. Breathing in into the middle. And out, we're shifting to the other side. Breathing in into the middle. And out to the other side. Breathe in into the middle. And out over to the other side. And in the middle. And out, here, going onto our knees, and we're doing the buffalo fighting its hangover exercise. Breathing in. And we're breathing out, we bring our shoulder in front. And breathing in, shoulder back. And out here, our shoulder in front. And breathing in, shoulder back. And out, one shoulder in front. And breathing in. And for last time, shoulder in front. In, back. And out, and down. And we're staying here and trying to come deeper down by only breathing deep in through the nose into the chest. And we're breathing out through the mouth. And breathing in. And out. And in. And out over to the neck. And breathe deep in from the nose and the chest. And out. And in. And out over to the other neck. Breathe in. and out into the middle. And breathe in. And out, becoming slowly to the round back, making it top the backward shoulder. Now, the next exercise at the moment, letting the feet stand together, they're breathing in, and out and we're hanging down. And now we're breathing in and bending the right leg, and we're breathing out and stretching the left leg. And breathe in and straighten the right leg, and breathe out and bend the left leg. And breathe in, out and stretch the left leg, and out and bend the right leg. Breathe in and change, and out, stretch just the right leg. And one last round, breathe in and change, and out and bend the right leg. And breathe in and change, and out and stretch the right leg. Breathe in, straighten both legs, and out, come slowly up the round back and make it to top the backward shoulder. And now the garden pose. The toes are pointing to the outside, so we're having an ordinary space between the heels. We're breathing in and lifting the arms up. And we're breathing out and we're coming down, and we're placing the elbows against the insides of the knees and pressing it against them. Now breathe in and straighten up the back. And breathe out and come to the back. And breathe in. And out back into the down pose. And breathe in and straighten the back. And out again into the down pose. Not with the elbows in the back up. And again. And out now into the down pose. Breathe in and straighten up the back. And out we come slowly in one straight line out. And now we see horse pose. We're having a standing leg. The other leg comes with the heel on top of the knee of the standing leg, so it's only if you don't want to injure yourself, but breathing in. And out and we're sinking down. So, let's start maybe at the beginning this time. It was JLB who invented the television. So, John Logie Baird. He developed in the 1920s the television. The first successful test was in 1932. London to Glasgow broadcasting. And then we have Sir Robert Watson Watt, and he had the idea that radio waves could be used for, he invented the radio. And the first test was in 1935. Who proposed that enemy aircraft could be detected by radio waves. So, Robert Watson Watt, radar, first test 1935. And the other side. And then it was Sir Bernard Lovell, who at Jordan Banks in Cheshire built the biggest radio telescope, and it's also still in use. It was the biggest at the time. And when we have, let's say, we're skipping one I don't know, we have Alan Turing, who made a Turing machine during the 1930s, and when we have John McLeod, he co-discovered insulin, and when we're having Francis Crick, he made the DNA, structure of the DNA, did he discover with other people? And we're coming up again. And when we're having Sir Frank Whittle, and he made the jet engine. And we skipped the last one. We actually not. We have a so far. And then I have here new Sir Christopher Cockerell. He invented the hovercraft in the 1950s. But at another time. So, now we are doing the counting exercise. We're breathing in. And out. Again in. And out. In. And out. And out. Let's do another round. We're breathing in. And out. Close the legs. And out. So thank you very much. Until next time.